Hello.
Hi, everyone. I'm Danielle Schneider.
I'm Casey Wilson.
This is Bitch Sesh from the Nook.
We're back. We've been traveling all over this great nation of ours.
Traipsing the continent.
Yes, like vaudeville performers.
Yeah, like buskers, plying our talents for a meal of porridge.
It's not like Death of a Salesman.
I'd like to think it was more romantic. Really, we were just on Alaskan Airlines going to Philly.
Yeah, but it was so much fun. We went Boston and then Philly and then Atlanta and then DC.
Uh-huh. In Atlanta, April and I went to the OLG, the Old Lady Gang, and it was a real treat.
I, unfortunately, had gotten food poisoning from Maggiano's from a Gorgonzola bruschetta the night before, so I was worried Old Lady Gang might send me further.
It would have. I mean, it's a spicy bite.
But, spoiler alert, you guys loved Old Lady Gang.
And, guys, we saw Ace, that little ace in the hole. Tiny little Ace. We knew this. April did not know who he was, even though he was wearing a shirt that said Ace. April was like, "Who's that boy?" I was like, "What's your problem, girl?"
And but you said Candy was there, not there, nor was Todd.
Not to be seen.
Nor were any of the aunts. So who was watching Ace?
I want to say a hostess, but I don't know for sure. He seemed to be greeting people. He seemed to be hostessing.
It's like when we went to SUR and we saw Max. It's like sometimes the second-born sons must be put to work in the restaurant. He was put
to work. He seemed to be hostessing. As a 2-year-old, I thought that was impressive. But I wouldn't put Sydney to hostess yet, not until she's at least 5. Yeah. So I feel like he's ahead of the curve.
You said the food was great. It was
delicious.
Gorgeous people.
The waiters were gorgeous. Everyone there dressed to the nines. April and I looked like trash, like garbage. We went in just like a jean and a t-shirt. People were dressed in their best. Wow. They came to play.
I wish I'd been there.
Yeah, I don't know.
And you guys beautifully brought some cornbread and mac and cheese for the audience members that had been sitting out for some
7
time.
hours. But they ate it right up. Yeah. That's how good that food is.
I had so much fun.
Again, the bathrooms. Perfect.
Wow.
Yeah. As opposed to, as we know, SUR and
Sexy Unique
Villa
Restaurant.
Blanca.
I had so much fun on the tour. I just have to say, for everyone who bought tickets and came out, it was a song and dance extravaganza. There's
amazing
much,
people.
We obviously don't include on the podcast. And speaking of that, but I'm just so grateful for everyone who came out. It felt
nice.
Everyone was so lovely and
funny, hilarious people.
Now, we've been getting a lot of flack online for the one episode that we released for the Boots on the Ground. And look, they were weak. But
I'm not going to say they weren't our strongest.
Here's the thing. We just picked one episode to release, and it's funny because didn't you feel like the boots on the ground that we received over the length of the tour were the best we have ever had? And that's on us.
Yeah.
Because we released a great show, but with bad boots.
Yeah, bad boots. Not all boots can be good. I also want to say that we release things the next day because people really want us to get it, release them as soon as possible. We hadn't released an episode in a while, and so we felt the need to get it out.
You don't need to make excuses, Danielle.
Okay. Just want to please everyone.
I know. No, but I'm saying it was interesting because we are going to release some of the boots on the ground later, but they were amazing.
Really?
In other cities, it was, and I was kind of like, what are we going to dig up in Philly and Boston? And we got answers to things I never knew.
Questions I didn't know I had.
I know.
And like things I shouldn't know. I can't believe I know. And now I know them and it feels like I've always known them.
Well, and my dad was, I can't even express.
A star was born.
Yes, a star was born.
He
came off
stage.
His
name is Paul Wilson.
After he got selfies for over 40 minutes with people in DC. He came up backstage with Danielle and he goes, "I'm exhilarated."
Even when we woke up the next morning, because Paul was so gracious as to house us for the night, he woke up with a skip in his step.
He's like, "When are we going on the road?"
He really was. He's like, "Can I come next?" And it's being negotiated, but
it was really cute and everyone was so sweet to him. It was just a great tour.
We had such a good time. It's nerve-wracking going on the road and not knowing what it's going to be. And I have to say, just every city, every town was so welcoming and funny and fun. And it just felt like a big party. And so I just want to thank everybody.
And I want to thank the nurse that came out in DC and gave me IV fluids before the DC show. It's unorthodox.
And April, too. April, if you noticed, April got a real zip.
Well, it was like when someone's like, "Oh, I've got an extra Xanax. Who wants one?" The woman was like, "I've got an extra bag of fluids." April's like, "I'll take it."
Well, I tried to get them, but my veins, for some reason, weren't opening.
So she's like, "You have no veins," and they're rolling.
They were. And then Casey, she almost bled Casey dry. Casey just
I was like Bethany in that Home Goods last year. Yes. She bled out.
You were bleeding, and the person did not seem to be concerned that you were bleeding out. And I was like, "Can I get you a paper towel?"
It was just like squirting blood out of my arm.
Casey was just sitting there.
But I am, at 31 weeks pregnant and had food poisoning again from gorgonzola bruschetta at Maggiano's that I will never speak of again. Things that I was throwing up on the plane to Atlanta. Poor April's covering me with a sweater. It was even still, I had a great time.
We did. I know. Even still, when we've been saying, like, we had a great time. Yeah. There was an incident, but we had a great time.
But I'll tell you, the IV fluid just popped April and I right up.
I was dragging. You guys were up and present.
So much fun. But we're back now in LA and we have a guest sitting to my left. Now, this is one of Danielle and I's dearest friends. Yes. And we haven't had her on the podcast because I will say she's not the world's biggest Housewives fan, but she's not a fan. And tonight she became a fan.
How could you not? Anyone in their right mind became a fan tonight. I looked over at her. She was grinning from ear to ear. And I'm telling you, I've seen her watch many things. We've been to movies, we've been to plays. I've never seen this girl been so excited.
She watched New York with us, and she's going to talk to us about her new television show, of which she's the creator, writer, and star.
And they ran a commercial of it during Real Housewives.
Guys, they ran a commercial of her show. Please welcome our dear friend, Andrea Savage, star and creator of I'm Sorry on True TV.
Hi. Guys, I couldn't be happier.
I'm so happy to have you here.
I mean, this has been a night of all nights.
It really has.
I didn't know what to expect because, like you said, I'm not well versed.
But you're enough. Every time we would say something, you were like, oh, I knew that.
Well, the New York one is the one that I went on a plane. I have binged some New York, but I hadn't seen them since a year ago. Yeah. That was the last time I saw it, when they were also on vacation and also fighting over rooms. So it was like I had no time had passed except their faces.
Did you feel like it was like coming home?
I don't know. It's home.
No home that you'd like to go to.
Yeah. Not a home that I would necessarily call home or admit was mine.
Yeah.
But you'd have still someone
drop
you.
Level. You'd have someone drop you off around the block and then be like, "Yeah, this is my house," and then run to your house. And then wait for them
to drive away, and then I'd run into my real house. But if there was a comfort level, there was.
And you also know Housewives too because you were in the Hotwives.
I was in the Hotwives shows.
She plays Veronica Van Vondervan, and I think that was your name.
I'm never quite sure. People ask me about it, and I'm always like, it's Veronica Van Vondervan or Vondervan. I don't know.
Unclear to me too.
I'm not sure she knew.
And I was a co-writer, but so you
created her.
So you had also touched down there too.
Yes. So that was my sort of first foray into the world, and I was as Donna and Danielle had created a mix of Lisa Vanderpump and Sonia.
Yeah,
was sort of the thing. I had a pretty spot on accent, I would say. Probably
it came and it went.
No. I would say it was flawless. I feel like it was really specific to a county in England.
Yeah, it was in upstate New York.
Yeah. And then the Hotwives of Las Vegas.
And that was when you played kind of like a Yolanda, right? Take on Yolanda.
A take on
Yet another accent.
Another accent they gave me. Because again, I have an ear for it.
Andrea always said, just don't give me an accent. And Donna and I would always be like, well, we've got to give her an accent.
Yeah. And that one was sort of an undefined Eastern European.
It's sometimes
slash Nazi.
German Nazi.
I think it really went German Nazi pretty quick.
Got there real quick.
Uncomfortably quick.
Angie, we're so happy to have you.
Guys,
let's dive into New York off the bat.
You know now I have no choice but to watch again next week. I'm not happy about it. I blame you both because I'm very, very busy. And also Wednesday nights happens to be the night my show airs. So now I'm not going to even be able to be focused. I'm going to have to give up my own show.
Probably. Makes sense.
And look, with all due respect, we're busy too, but we find time to watch every single city.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not.
So don't tell us what you got going on.
Okay.
We're all busy.
I don't seem to be that busy.
100%. Listen.
You know what's that new 4-part special that just came out about Jimmy, I'm going to botch his last name, Iovine and Dr. Dre?
Yes. The one called
Defiant Ones?
Yes. The Defiant Ones. I was with a mom at like a preschool thing and I'm like, she's like, oh, I'm in the music business. And I'm like, oh, have you seen, the Defiant Ones? And she was like, oh my God, I wish. She's like, how would I ever have time to watch it? And I was like, I've seen all 4 parts. All 4 hours. I took down in the course of a night. Guys, New York was Why was it? It was so good, despite the fact that we counted for 23 minutes. We were looking for rooms in Mexico. The women are screaming and trying to find rooms. 23 minutes.
Me anxiety. I have been screamed at in my own life, in my own house, and never did I feel the fear and anxiety that I had as these women screaming at each other. It was visceral to me.
I loved it.
I will say at a certain point, you both apologized because you were like, these are our friends and you're not seeing them in their best light.
No.
This isn't how I wanted you to see them.
No, I understand. In the first 23 minutes, I was like, this is terrible. This is upsetting. The snapping?
Yeah.
Ramona snapping.
Snapping at the guy that working at the house.
That was the part of me. I was like, what are these guys going home to their wife like at the end of that night?
That's who I felt the worst for. Yeah. And you pointed it out. Like, as these women are being led by this very nice gentleman who's kind of, finally I hear him piping in like, this is a really nice room. Yeah. Like trying to just get them to shut the fuck up.
Gorgeous, like seaside, beautifully decorated, huge bedrooms. And these women are like, I don't want this piece of shit.
And correct me if I'm wrong. They are there for 2 to maybe 3 nights.
It's out of their
lives. Probably just 2.
Maybe just 2 nights. They are acting as if they will never be in another location again, and this is their home for their end of days. Yeah. Like this is where they will die.
I hope they all do die there. What if at the end of a Housewives, they're all sealed shut and a fiery blaze? That would be a real nice ending.
It would.
I wonder if Ramona's peel would look the same.
Now, okay.
Well, first of all, let's start off with what we started off with a huge hat box. We were entertained with a hat box bigger than any carry-on luggage I've ever had in my entire adult life.
And I don't think I've ever seen Ramona carry anything.
No.
As we see the way she hired help, people that were already hired help.
Yeah.
She rehired, sort of.
Yeah, she did. She sort of like took them over.
Yeah, like tilted them towards herself.
She tipped them very well, so then she could treat them.
There is no
like
way
slaves.
that Ramona tips well. I bet my life that she does not tip well.
What do you think
I think she gave them $30.
I think at most she gave them $30. I think she gave them 30 pesos and thought it was $30.
I think for the egregious request of the Pinot Grigio and then the Earl Grey tea.
Very specific time.
I think she owed them $200 to $300 for. It was just shocking.
After snapping and then also like pointing everything out and then being like, I'm so tired.
I bet she doesn't tip shit. Oh, God. I bet she doesn't tip anything and feels the show is tipping. That is
also, and I said this on the tour, but I don't think on the last live show. This is what I feel like is going on. So Ramona and Bethany are bucking up against just the fourth wall of this show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like Bethany's storyline is that I planned this trip. And so Luann's playing along like, Bethany, let's raise a glass to you. And Ramona's like, no, she didn't. Like basically saying like the fucking producers planned this, bitch. Yeah. And everyone's like looking at her like,
like this is the story. This is what we're going with.
Right. And it's like she's not having any of it. And Ramona just will not play that when it comes to what room she's getting.
And this is every trip.
Yes. In fact, they literally went to Vermont for, I want to say, less than 24 hours. Maybe they were just taking a nap in that room, not even sleeping overnight. And everyone was like, I got this wrong. Like, it is pathological.
But this is my question. Now, everyone knows this is going to happen ahead of time because it happens every time.
But it seems...
Why are the room... I understand because why would you? Because then it makes amazing television. But why would this not be settled ahead of time? Why is it not... I mean,
what
obviously,
are we watching?
because you'd rather watch it. But still, it happens every time. And then everyone's acting as if this is a new shocking
there was a new twist, a very shocking development, which is what the addition of writing names down on slips of paper.
So
was a
simple.
Twist.
So simple, and yet it felt like a huge twist.
It felt like a plot twist I wasn't ready for.
And also that she refused to then follow.
Adhere to
it
the
was
rule.
like, you've gotten your number. The game has been had.
Ramona doesn't play by your rules.
Ramona is, when she was sitting on, I guess it was Dorinda's bed, that when she was perched, and Dorinda's like, I'm gonna throw your stuff into the, and Dorinda starting slurring. 17 minutes in, 17 minutes into the room hunt, Dorinda's like, get out of my room, Shania.
It was early. Dorinda went down early this evening, and that was shocking because Dorinda's usually still there. She's wasted, but she's standing upright.
But see, Dorinda and I are on the same nap schedule. So I understand what she was saying, which is like, that happens to me. If I get somewhere and have my drinks at 4, don't count on me for dinner. If I haven't had my nap.
I know, but Dorinda, I've never seen her just disappear into the mist. Like, that to me was like, she's taken like a little disco nap and come back later. This time
We've seen Dorinda nap at 7 p.m.
Yeah, and then come out at 12. Like, she's usually up for a good time.
Now, you said when we found out Bethany had the flu, you're like, she looks like a person who would always have a flu.
She does. She just looks like someone that you're like, yeah, that tracks.
She does.
That woman always has the flu, but not a real flu, but the kind of thing where you go, I think I have the flu. And you're like, you don't fucking have the flu.
There's always something.
You're just miserable. And you want to, and you label it flu, but it's really just your inner misery that you're calling flu.
I will say, Bethany is always leaking something. And whether it's vomit,
leaking clip,
blood, just like sweat. Like, there's
At one
always
point, her eyes looked like beat up.
Yeah, there was a shot there where I was concerned that she had been punched in her eyes or something. But can you just explain to me the clip of I'm bleeding out or what?
That was a scene that took place a year ago in a Home Goods where her and Dorinda went shopping together, and Bethany was having a uterine issue and was just bleeding out amongst the sheets and knickknacks.
But what was the...
It was like a fibroid. It was like a fibroid.
Yeah,
a fibroid situation that's since been taken care of.
Okay.
And this was last year, and this very trip was canceled. So now here we are, and she's sick again.
Yeah,
with
a year later.
A year later. Now, guys, then we are treated to this. Part 2 is dinner, and
this is where the show really comes alive for me.
Yeah, and not everyone is. The earliest person is 90 minutes late, so that's an hour and a half. Where I just think of the chefs and their families waiting up for them.
I could think of the whole time was just these people in the house just needing to go home. Just being like, the food is not going to taste good. Like, we've worked so hard and it's all going to be cold.
And all these women are just getting ready for each other.
That was shocking to me. I just assumed they were all going out to a club or something. They all were just going into their kitchen.
Well, Ramona and Sonia, I think, are going to go out later, is what they seem to say.
I don't know, but
Ramona looked like she was heading to bed.
Yeah. And also the two of them, that hot pink and the way Sonia was poofing her hair up.
Oh, yeah, with like a little banana clip.
Yeah.
It felt so like, I got a real glimpse into them in the 80s. You know what I mean? Like, then they were still kind of like young and on the prowl, and as they are now. But I felt like I got like a rear view mirror.
I love when I think it was Sonia that said this, or maybe I can't even remember anymore. But when they were deciding between their final sad 2 choices of bedrooms, up or down, she goes, we better go low because going up the stairs is not going to be good for us.
That was Sonia. That was amazing.
Not going to be good for us.
Not going to be.
But she knows, right?
They know themselves.
Because they drink, right?
Oh, yeah.
And speaking of drinking,
guys. I mean, this is where there were things that I've never seen. There were moments of things I couldn't have even imagined.
You know, when they say, Andrea, you're a writer, like you can never write a new scene. You know, everything's been done.
We've seen it all, even if you do a different angle on it.
They have proven us wrong. Tonight.
Indeed.
And I want to say thank you to the producers, to the writers, to the ladies, to Andy Cohen himself for not teasing this one moment. I didn't know it was coming. We knew the second trip was coming.
I
didn't.
To see that long leg sticking out from that bush was something.
Luann, okay. So Luann starts off, and at first it was a little odd because she's blowing on a little whistle around her neck.
Yeah.
And she's wasted. She's like, I don't know. Why is Bethany always have some business? She's killing everybody.
And her boob almost fell out in a shot.
And I just don't recall seeing her like this.
This is what I was like, oh, there's an issue, because every single other character was like, Luann can usually really hold her. Like, I was like, whoa. And then Carol did a wink wink with the pirate leg or the wooden leg that it goes in. I don't know.
I think. And also, like, usually we see Luann the next morning when she's a little, like, road hard and sort of like, not really. Like when she was like, hey, weren't you afraid that guy, weren't you afraid that pirate was going to, or weren't you afraid that guy could have, like, hurt you or robbed you? She's like, not really. Because she's, like, been liquored up and smoking, and it's, like, the day after.
And we've got big sunglasses and caftans in the aftermath. This was, like, And I loved what she was wearing. Yes.
Oh, she looked gorgeous.
By the way, she looked, because again, I have not seen these women in a year.
Yeah.
So I saw the passage of time and involvement. And
time has not been kind to all of them.
But also, there have been some choices made that have not been great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know you see them all the time, so you don't necessarily
I don't see the changes like you do.
Well, that's the thing. It's like there are friends, we see them constantly.
Yeah. I haven't. It's like
I see them
someone's kid for a year,
and
you're
for me, it's
whoa.
like, and it's not even like I haven't seen them between seasons. Like I'm in their Instagram, I'm in their Twitter,
I'm
I'm
never
on their
not seeing them,
Snapchat. So
yeah.
they're in my lives constantly. My friends are in my lives constantly.
Yeah.
But when Luann comes out in that jumpsuit, okay, so she's just drunk. And then this is the best. What I want to just say is that the juxtaposition between what was going on with Ramona and Luann outside with some nonsense scene inside where Tinsley's going to be so pissed because she thought this was like her big scene.
Yeah.
At one point, she runs into the pantry only for no one to follow.
For her to come back to be like, well, the cameras aren't following me. The action isn't following me. I got to get myself back in there.
Yeah, she's like, surely a friend would just come and she's hysterically crying. No one comes. No. She kind of is like looking over her shoulder. She's like, I got to get back out there.
At one point, the cameras went away. Like,
speaking of the cameras, quickly,
Yeah.
they got to get more cameras on this. I felt seasick.
Yeah.
I felt like it was like two cameras swinging to everyone, trying to get everyone too late. It was like we were just getting to people at the ends of their sentences, and it was making me feel nauseous this episode.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's Mexico, and the pared down production team, a
They
skeletal
seemed like
crew.
they were on a real shoestring budget
feel
down
like-
there. Yeah. It looked like they were really holding back.
Real skeleton crew.
Yeah, skeleton.
But then we go outside, and Luann and Ramona are walking, and I guess Luann decides she's going to go to bed.
You're being liberal with walking. I would say they were sitting, and she stood and took maybe a step.
And fell far. It seemed like a big fall, the first one.
Like she fell down off of a height into a bush. Because she was like in like a tub where she was buried beneath the bushes, and all you saw was her one long leg sticking straight up like a shark's tail.
And just her little face poking out amongst foliage.
And no one came to fix it. I would like to applaud the cameraman because he could have held out a hand, and he didn't.
This is cinema verite. They are not to get involved.
No,
Do
and
you
I
also want to
appreciated that.
applaud Ramona for not remotely helping her friend out and waiting for the staff once again to come out, where then she ordered him to help her friend up.
She didn't even offer him. She didn't quicken a walk. She was just like, Lou's in a bush.
Yeah.
And then
watching Lou go down is one of the funniest things I've ever
she
seen.
has a long way to fall.
Yeah,
I'm so shocked they didn't play it like you would in a basketball game, like 20 more times.
Because remember, I was like, I need to see that again. You're like, they'll show it a million more times. They only showed it one more time.
I think we'll get it more in different episodes,
And
though.
will we? Because it was such restraint they showed.
I mean,
Someone
really,
like them.
Those bushes were deep.
They looked like they could have thorns.
I couldn't even find her amongst the bushes. And again, she's a large, tall woman. Like,
It was shocking.
Delighted.
Yeah.
It didn't phase her for a beat.
It's the finest I've ever seen Luann. It makes me want to secure a place for her in the Housewives history in the Hall of Fame.
she deserves a place in heaven.
Guys, as much as though we love I will say that second fall, I have.
Then she fell again.
Honestly, the second fall has a special place in my heart. That fall was, I don't even know the mechanics of it.
Well,
It was, that one looked
fell
like
from a
it could
distance.
hurt you. If she hadn't been drunk, so she wasn't aware. Because
that one was on concrete.
That was onto concrete.
But thank God she was so drunk because
what
she melted.
yeah, but like it's like being in a car accident. The person who's drunk driving is always fine because they don't tense up, but the person who sees it right before it's about to happen, that's the one who gets
That's
hurt.
a tough.
Yeah. And so she...
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, that's a weird analogy.
Yeah.
I didn't even see how dark it was. I'm still like too busy laughing at the way.
I was like, oh, that's horrible for the
And
person.
I was like, you're right.
But because she didn't tense up her body. She just
she
fell.
took it like a pro
It was
and was
graceful.
not phased that she had
No.
fallen twice. And did Ramona help again? No.
Criticized. She said, see, you're going the wrong way. You got to go around.
I'm gonna go the right way.
And then Luann just goes, sit down. It was so delightful.
It was. I'm playing it back in my head.
We
like
were
her leg just like gave out.
all of it was the most beautifully choreographed ballet. I have
Yes.
sat through. It was,
and then nobody inside knew what had happened at all.
They're screaming about page 6.
Every man that worked there ran out because of the
they're
screams
gentlemen.
and cries. And the women inside were still screaming about something.
Then she still kind of hobble tripped off, which was wonderful. And then all we see the last shot of her. You tell it.
Well, it's just her being held up and escorted up to her room by
a poor gentleman who has called his wife and has been like, sorry, honey, can't come home to you and our newborn tonight. I have to help this drunk old lady up.
And then I have to get Earl Grey going
for the morning teapot to get the 30 peso tip.
As she is escorted away in the background.
From a woman whose face obviously caught on fire earlier in the day.
Ramona's face. And you did explain to me she had a peel.
I believe so.
That was hard.
It was rough
to look at.
Well, it was especially hard to look at in the strange scene in between, which we didn't discuss yet, the love story, the love scene that was between looking for rooms and Luann's fall.
In the, 10 years we've been watching The Real Housewives, I've never seen a love scene.
A more tender love scene.
So poignant, so flirtatious. So sexually charged.
As the scene of Ramona and Sonia sitting out seaside with that burnt off face.
But I will say, I feel like the energy was coming more from one side. Sonia did not. She was not giving it back.
Because Sonia, and I think I've been right, they have clamped her down for drinking. Because did you see when she got there, she snagged a little straw full of tequila and she was like, I got tequila. She's like, I'm not drinking.
You mean where she couldn't even pick it up in her hands?
No, she was
drank off a man who
she
had
was
to
literally
hold her
like,
tray.
I'm not touching it, so that means I'm not drinking it. Bravo can't fire me. Like that's what that was.
And then we've seen in future episodes, she's like,
interesting.
Basically like drinking out of the carafe, just straight from the carafe. So I think things are gonna fall away for that. But I just couldn't believe when Ramona and her are holding hands and Ramona's saying, let's live in the moment. The tide ebb and flows. You know, it goes out, it comes in, but nothing goes out and comes in like our friendship.
Meanwhile, 2 weeks earlier, she was like, I don't know. Sonia can't handle anything. Sonia's an idiot. Sonia's a bitch. These women turn like the tide. Turn on each other.
And there's no use in yelling at Sonia at dinner that she's too close with Ramona and that Ramona brings out a bad side in her. It's like Sonia
then was like, she does bring out a bad side of me. Totally just was I'll just blame her for the fact that I'm acting
she was
like an
that's
animal.
Absolutely accurate.
I have no control over any of my behavior or words or actions when Ramona's around.
But everyone believes that, because no one believes that Sonia can take care of herself. And that's the truth. Everyone believes that she is a pawn in everybody else's game.
But that's true.
Oh, yeah. I'm saying
okay.
that is the truth.
Yeah.
And I also want to touch back on the fact that Sonia got a random dick pic from somebody. That, wasn't like a stranger, to get a butt dial is strange in general.
Yeah.
And so to be basically butt dialed a dick pic of... I'm just like, how did that? What were the circumstances that led to
not for me.
Danielle, you said something while we were watching, and I think you're right that her phone number is probably...
Yeah, I think her phone number is scrawled on the wall at the Regency and at Boutique and various hot spots for
an elder crowd.
Yeah, for an elder crowd.
And it's just send dick pic here.
Yeah, and just a picture of Sonia's face.
Well, and I love... when Bethany's at her most surly or fluish or sick, she's always ready to play a game. She's always like, all right, I'm sick. Let's play Fuck, Marry, Kill. And everyone had to play that game. And I just love that everyone was like, well, I'd never have sex with Tinsley. She's got no sexual charge.
She's void. I think they just said she's void. She's just void of life. Yeah. She's void of personality.
And then we find out that Tinsley went on a 5-day date with that guy and they went down to Miami. I'm just like, wow.
That guy didn't know what he was getting into when he took that frigid piece of twine. Miami.
He was getting into a 5-day date.
I'm going to say something because, again, I don't watch this show a lot, but I have watched some of them, and this is her first year, so I was not familiar with her. And the other people
But you knew her from
I knew her name slightly from gossip things. And again, these other women are animals. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
But
we all
can agree. But I don't know why I feel a love-ish feeling towards them. I did not feel that toward Tinsley. I did not care for her on a deep level.
No.
I did not. She did not warm me.
Not in the way you care deeply for Ramona.
No, in like a God, that is a horrible woman. But there's a part of me that like there's a feel, there's an electricity.
Yes.
Tinsley really, I didn't feel.
She's a wet blanket.
She's a wet blanket, and
Not even a wet blanket. She's a wet rag. Like she's not even a full blanket.
Yeah, she just has nothing.
Yeah.
There's no unique. Like she just seems like
Ramona said, she's a non-event.
She's a non-event. That's truly, she said that, and she nailed it. I really did not have a good.
And in some ways, that's the harshest thing you could ever say about those women, and you're right.
Yeah, you'd rather have someone be like an evil, total pig dog than to be a non-event.
And then her whole thing about page 6, and then she had her tantrum, and she's in the pantry, but it just was like it wasn't a good look.
Yeah.
No.
I didn't care. Yeah, she really did not wow me.
No, and nor anyone. I think she's, a one-season wonder. We've seen before. I don't know that we'll see her back.
And I think that's going to destroy her.
Yeah, she's already at the bottom, and this will crack her into a million pieces. And I'm not happy about that. But it's like we have to look at the monsters we create and.
What is that? Yeah, I didn't.
I think you nailed it. Yeah.
She just felt like a doll or something. Like she didn't.
Yeah.
Seem like a person.
Her mother is actually more excited. I could see Dale coming back next season and without Tinsley.
Her mother's name is Dale?
Well, and she pronounced Dale.
Southern from Virginia.
Dale. It's her mom has more interest in her name. That's what she is. I mean, guys, that was New York. It was electrifying, as my dad said about doing our show.
Andy had teased us. Andy had tweeted us today and said, guys, get rest because tonight's going to be a whirlwind. And after the first 23 minutes of just watching them sort of totter around a house, it was like, I don't know what's going to happen. And then it delivered.
And I think we've got more in store. We haven't even gotten to when Dorinda just, drunken, and then doing that
the sort of
orchestration kind of band leader gestures. We haven't gotten to that yet.
I'm glad to see Casey
that's from a teaser.
That's a teaser.
It's like watching Game of Thrones and you're waiting for what I saw that and you're trying to read into it.
Mm-hmm. And what could have gotten her there? Yeah. I know it's alcohol.
100 guys. Again, I don't know a lot about Dorinda, but
you knew John when you asked about where's her sweaty dry cleaner. You knew.
I was like, she dates like a sort of a sweaty bigger guy, but I mean that is a person that there's no question when she's drunk. Like it is
something changes in her face.
Something changes in her actual lip structure.
Her mouth gets confused.
Her mouth gets a different shape and it can't form things.
You're right. It was dry and crackly and just
her eyes look like the White Walkers in Game of Thrones. Jesus. When they get super blue and they turn off.
Should we be?
I'm scared. I mean, this is a horror.
Will someone walk me to my car?
Wait, Andrea, before we let you go, I would like to talk about your show for a second and just tell you how great it is.
Thank you.
It's so funny. It's so smart. It's a show. It really is. This is not just saying this because you're our dear friend. This is a show everyone that enjoys our podcast should be watching.
It's called I'm Sorry. It's on True TV. It is so...
Tell us what it's about.
Well, when you say what it's about, it kind of doesn't sound very exciting because I think the good part is in the execution, but I play a version of myself, and it's basically I wanted to put a different kind of female character on TV because...
Other than the ones we see on Housewives?
Other than...
Why?
Well, no, not those characters. Those characters are...
Perfect.
Crushing it.
Yeah.
But no, not the roles that were coming to me of the 40-year-old mom who had the harried mom and the sexless mom and the
finger wagging mom.
The finger wagging and just these really awful roles that were kind of just the only things coming. And I was like, I'm not like that. And I was like, I want to do a show where I'm kind of doing a version of myself. I've got a lot of real stories that I think are relatable, but they're also super funny and out there. And I want to do a nuanced mom who happens to be a mom and a wife, but also works. And none of those things define her as a caricature, but it's funny. And I just want to do a pure comedy. Danielle Schneider writes on the show and is a supervisor.
I know I do this a lot lately where I'm I say something's really funny and then I've actually written
and then she's actually involved. So I just full disclosure.
Yes, but I'm not saying this again. I will say this, and I know I said this about Playing House last week, a few weeks ago, but it's funny And I think that I was fans of these people and these things before I even came aboard. I wanted to be a part of them because they're so funny.
And
a
tell
lot of
us,
her friends are on it.
Yes,
and
tell us about who plays your husband, because this is a old heartthrob.
I think he looks like my husband in real life.
I don't know about that, but
I can see it.
a little bit. I'm trying to picture. I got to see a picture shot.
Tell us who it is.
It's Tom Everett Scott from That Thing You Do.
Guys, when he came out in That Thing You Do, I remember being like, oh, this is like, these are feelings I've never felt before.
Because everyone was selling him as a young Tom Hanks. And I, as we all know, had a huge crush on Tom Hanks until he broke my heart and criticized my acting.
Never meet your heroes.
And
never.
Tom Everett Scott was like this young version of him. And
Yeah.
I was. So when I found out that he was your husband, I had so many questions.
Yeah, he's delightful. He's delightful, and we get to. I mean, we make out, we do stuff, guys.
Wow.
Yeah,
How was that?
it was great.
Really?
Yeah, it was great. Not gonna lie, it was awesome. Wow. He's lovely. He's such a good person. He's just and always up for he's literally like the most delightful person.
And tell us who else is in the show.
Judy Greer is on the show.
She's a breath of fresh.
Oh, she's the best. She's a real dick. She's so good. Jason Mantzoukas plays my writing partner. Allison Tolman of Fargo fame.
Paul
Plays one of my
Scheer.
other best friends. Paul Scheer's on it. Nick Kroll's on it. Kulop's on it.
Morgan Walsh.
Morgan Walsh is on it. Gary Anthony Williams. Lizzie Kaplan's on it.
Wow.
Star-studded cast.
It's a star-studded cast. Kathy Baker plays my mom. Martin Mull plays my dad.
So funny. I did a pilot last year with Martin Mull that
Oh, that's right.
did not go forward.
Okay.
And he was everything to me. Is he not the most lovely man?
And an amazing artist. Did
I
he
know.
show you any of his art? Like when he told me he did art, I was
Painter.
I'm gonna be honest. I was like, this is gonna be great, but
I
I'm gonna
know,
have to
it's like,
pretend
here's
like
an
I like
actor.
it, and I'm gonna have to be like, that's so great. He
Yeah,
showed
it's like
it to
when
me.
George W. Bush and his watercolors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, all right, you're an ex-president.
Yeah,
That's what you do.
It is.
Yeah.
He is in major museums,
Well, in
like
some
all
ways,
over the
he
world.
identifies as a painter beyond.
That is what he does.
He
Number
doesn't
one.
identify as Colonel Mustard from Clue.
Believe me. Okay, so he'd been playing my dad for many days, and he was so lovely that finally, like, we had like some downtime. I was like, ooh. I was like, walk me through Clue, start to finish. And he was just like, he kept like kind of getting to the end of the conversation. He was like, we had a ball on that one. I was like, how so? How and why? Tell me everything about Clue.
Well, he is delightful on it, and basically, it's real stories. Like the first episode is when I found out that my daughter's friend in preschool, her mom, who had changed her name and changed careers, used to be a very well-known anal porn star, and I was the only one who knew about it in the school, and I kept it in real life for a secret for a year and a half
Until
No
you
big
wrote it
deal.
into a show.
Well, but I didn't use her name.
No one will know. No one.
But
will know.
I became obsessed with the state of her butthole and just how was it? Is it okay? Is she okay? And then for a period, she had a handicap placard on her car that I could only assume was there because her butthole had fallen out. And so this episode is sort of around that. The second one is
You
when
know,
my,
it's just your family fare.
Yeah.
You've seen these stories before.
You
That's
guys
what I'm saying.
you remember
kinda need
these
to
from
see the
like
execution.
Yeah.
You remember these stories from like Blossom and from Full House.
All
These
in the
are-
family.
Yeah.
Classic Maude.
Classic mod.
Yeah.
And then the second one it deals with
Her
actually
butthole does
racism.
fall out. No.
No,
Just kidding.
she wears white pants. Like she does a bold choice.
Yeah.
She's confident in it, and she's okay. Jillian Vigman plays her. And the second one is my daughter in real life went through a racist period when she was 4. And so this is dealing with when your child is racist, and it is horrifying and what you kind of need to do to get around it. And then I also, in that episode, develop jalapeno hand, which is a real condition when you chop jalapenos without gloves on. And there's a whole thing with Jason Mantzoukas and myself. But it's, I would say like that might be one of my favorite episodes. And then, yeah,
It's so funny, you guys.
I'm very proud of it.
You should be. You're
You're so
funny. It's
talented
funny.
and so funny, and you've always been so amazing and everything. I just actually saw you again, which I've seen. Step Brothers is one of my favorite movies of all time, and you are the therapist to Will Ferrell,
Yes.
and so good in it.
And you're the president on Veep right now. I mean, this goes
Laura?
everywhere. Yes,
Laura.
Laura Montes.
I'm so proud of you and impressed,
guys.
and you guys have to be watching this show. It's so good.
So funny, and you can binge them. So the first 2 episodes.
The first 3, and then actually probably now tonight, because the 3rd one aired tonight, which means the 4th one probably got put on demand.
Great.
So
and it's True TV.
It's True TV Wednesdays at 10 o'clock, and then also on demand. Also, I think you can buy it on Amazon and iTunes and that kind of thing. Unfortunately, it's not on a Hulu or streaming, that kind of thing.
Don't apologize.
Yeah. Don't apologize. Just like we shouldn't apologize.
Yes.
For our boots on the ground.
For our boots on the ground.
For your boots on the ground. Guys, this has been so fun.
So fun.
Can't wait to watch next week.
We're going to let you go so we can discuss Orange County and the like.
And we're going to take a break while you scoot out the door.
And walk me to my car so Dorinda doesn't kill me.
Yeah, for Dorinda the White Walker.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andrea Savage. I'm sorry on True TV.
Thanks, guys.
We're back, guys, and we're going to dive right into the OC. And we had another fun-filled OC episode this week. I mean, Shannon just delivers in a way that she's just MVP.
She is MVP. Watching Shannon send off her daughter to her prom, and I know it was at the end of the episode, but I feel like she came alive. Like, that's the Shannon I love. Not the Shannon just like screaming and crying and running around, but watching her yelling and smiling. Girl, you look fierce, girl. And then
just
yelling.
Like, yes. Woo, yeah. Like, she just.
Trying to get in the limo and yelling, is there room for me? Ah! And just like purposely embarrassing her kids. Like, that's the Shannon I know and love.
It was really hard this week with them juxtaposing the black and white footage with the sort of like sepia toned footage of her from like 2 or 3 years ago. Just to see her in a better place. Physically, mentally, emotionally.
Why did they move? Did they move? Is it money?
I think money. It's got to be money because that was a huge house. And this house, though beautiful, feels like it feels sad in that house. And
it feels so sad. And I don't need to be I'm not Elaine, the feng shui provider, but the energy is so dark.
And it's not just because there's a toilet in the corner, in her relationship corner, like.
Now, is that literal or metaphorical?
Both. And positive.
Because we've got that view and we know that view outside. Once they get outside, I feel good.
Yeah. Yes. But inside it is dark. It feels like that kind of like rough carpet that like a dog has peed on over and over again.
But it just makes no sense to me because this must be, maybe she said it last year that this is a transitional home, but because it's such a step down. But here's the thing. I don't mean step down like even money. I just mean the care that she put into the other house. I'm really not talking like, it's one thing to have a small house. That's totally fine.
Yeah, and I'm sure
admirable.
It's still millions of dollars.
Of course. But I'm just saying that it just feels like she's done nothing. And I guess Elaine confirmed that. I mean, she doesn't even have her 9 lemons.
I know.
She's done nothing to kind of brighten it. It just feels...
She's let it all go. And it's more than just the fact that
what happened?
Vicky,
we were coming off of this.
I don't know, because
renewal.
Vicky spread that terrible rumor, but no one believed it was true. And like, I just think
I was never sure on that.
Well, I guess. And June Diane said she believed it to be true. I guess. So look, okay, maybe we believe
rumors have power. Words have power.
But that I would think that that's the type of thing where it's like, this will make us stronger. Like, we know the truth about our relationship. Like, why are we giving
I've always said, though, someone was going to cheat on me, the more painful thing would be that people found out. To me, I don't know why. And is that wrong?
No, it's humiliating.
It would be equally. Both parts would be as equally painful.
It's a second
trauma.
Yeah, because it's a betrayal and then it's a humiliation. You feel, and as women, we blame ourselves. What did we do wrong? And maybe Shannon should have let him eat one of her 9 lemons or whatever. Like when they flash back. Oh my God.
Now look, I've had some nuts in my life. I've had every manner of. Yes. Kulap came over. My dearest friend came over last night to read my cards and pull my cards. She called it.
What? Anything interesting?
The rabbit and the mouse are at work now.
And what
don't worry about it.
I'm afraid.
Yeah,
they're at work. You made it seem so. They're just dire
with me, and I'm working with the relationship between the rabbit card and the butterfly card. But luckily the golden egg is in my present. So
okay, thank God.
I've dealt in this realm. Cool Up and I organized about 8 years ago. This is before you and I really knew each other, Danielle. A retreat that we led for close friends that we made them pay to go out to Joshua Tree, and we put on a self-help retreat that we led.
And you charged people?
Yes. We didn't make money on it, but they charged. Like we had June Diane and our dear friends out there Cool Up and I were just getting way too into self-help. That we were flocking at one point, which was like
What does that mean?
Blocking is like it's used for movement classes and acting where like everyone's in a group and moves in synchronicity.
Oh, I've done that.
Weird things were happening with a group of 6 friends. Like
That's weird for everyone to be like, yes, we're trusting you to lead us.
the blindest leading the blind. I mean, Cool Up and I yesterday were dying over it. Like we had a workbook.
Did you write the workbook?
Oh, yes. And we were making each other write letters to their like 5-year-old selves. I mean, it was weird. All this is to say, I've seen some nuts in my day. I mean, we all know my kitchen's been healed. Although, my kitchen healer is now heavily featured on Goop.
I know. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it.
I was onto something.
I know. You were the first. You had her before Goop.
But then there was Lane. She's a goddamned nut.
Is.
I mean...
And saying like the fridge is female, the toilet is male. I don't know why, but that's where I was like, I draw the line. Like, I'm willing to believe that they're alive. I'm willing to believe that they have energy forces. I'm willing to believe that it's all coming down on her life.
It's almost like the more nonsense that comes out of her mouth, we're supposed to believe her more, but she just seemed
I feel like I had to draw a line. And again, it's a confusing line where I drew it.
I agreed with Vicky when we were flashing to Vicky, and now there's a new character in our lives. It seems to be Vicky's office manager.
Oh, I'm all in for her. She is the comedic relief.
She really is. And when she and Vicky were like making fun of Elena, I was laughing.
Yeah.
It was pretty good.
I would like to also say that there was a moment, we've been talking about Steve Lodge, Vicky's new boyfriend. And when Vicky says, I told Steve you might not want to be with me for the next month because I'm going to lose my mind. It's like we should she would never have said that to Brooks. She would have never said you don't want to be with me for a month.
Never.
And the fact
she was at Brooks's beck and call.
Yeah. And so for her to tell the man she's dating to leave for a month, that is the most un-Vicky thing. She does not love this man. She does not like this man. He is just a placeholder in her life.
Now, I want to say something, and I think that April is a gorgeous version of Lydia. Now, does this offend?
No.
I think Lydia is very gorgeous.
Yeah, Lydia is beautiful.
I hate Lydia,
but
I divorce my hate from her for her looks, but I think April's a much more glamorous, beautiful version.
Well, I related to Lydia when I was like, oh, I'm probably at one point in my life was like that optimistic.
She feels like Lydia's as optimistic as she is. And they are both optimistic. They are both bright lights.
Yes.
In a dark world.
Although April's not a dum-dum like Lydia.
And she doesn't run a stupid magazine
called Nobleman.
Nobleman magazine is a piece of shit that I wouldn't use to clean up.
Why does she love her husband so much?
He's a handsome man.
He definitely is, but she's like constantly just like when Doug came over, like I just want to smooch him, and like Doug came over like a what does she always call him? She's like a Prince Charming, and he came over. She's got to stop waving those orangutan arms.
I know.
She must stop doing that wave, that solo wave.
I think it's her signature look at this point. Like, I think that she feels like it's her signature motion. So I think she's leaning harder into it than you'd like her to.
And I know she's doing it kind of like in insecure pockets, but
I applaud Lydia.
Oh.
And here's why. There was a moment that was so awkward, and that they were like, hey, find a way to blend this new character into your world. We're leading it to you. You have to be the one to do this. We're giving you this assignment, Lydia, if you want to stay on this season. And Lydia said, this woman just tells her that she had a double mastectomy, which is a painful procedure, a scary procedure. And Lydia says to her, well, if you're looking for a distraction from your double mastectomy, you should meet my friends. That was... And to have that be the transition for her into this group was bold. I applaud her for doing that with a straight face.
She had a shift to make, and she made it.
And she made it. And to do it again, awkward, but seamless.
And I feel like Lydia was like, okay, I neglected to come back, and now I'm back, and so I better fucking just jump in the ring. And
not ask questions, not say, this doesn't feel right.
No, she's just immediately in, just like, I think someone pulled her aside and was like, what we need from you. I bet you they outlined their roles for them at the beginning of the season a bit. And they're like, you need to play Peacemaker. And she's like, okay. So immediately playing Peacemaker with Tamara, and Shannon will let anyone get under her skin.
Ooh, yes.
it's unbelievable. Like I think Shannon and Lydia would have had a nice chance to actually hit it off.
Shannon doesn't hit it off with anyone well at first sight. If you remember how her and Meghan King Edmonds met with the charity event. And again,
this is that all over again.
Even the harmless.
Poor Shannon is so threatened by everyone. And I wish she wouldn't be, because she's a cool, like, fun person.
And gorgeous. She's just an open wound that any brush of air.
Right.
Is she's wide open again.
She's the Walking Dead, just seeping out pus.
Oozing.
Now, Tamara's birthday party for Ava. I have seen so many parties on these shows. It's the only one I've ever wanted to be at.
Really?
I was like, this looks fun.
To me, I was like, interesting to put a toddler's party at a beer garden. Like, that to me was an interesting decision.
Okay. When we were touring the beer garden, you know how I feel about Tamara's son, Ryan.
Yes. You are terrified of him. You think he's a bad egg and a rotten man, and you think he will
And I'm scared of Tamara. Take it easy. I'm so scared of Tamara.
He's a wonderful man.
Yeah. I think
he's terrifying. I think he's terrifying too.
But his girlfriend on and off, what's her name, Sarah?
Something like that, yeah.
She's changed her face 100%.
What? Do you think it's like they tried to pull a Roseanne on us? Where like was a Becky and then there's another Becky?
I would love that if just a new Vicky showed up. No, she's gotten major work done.
Really? They showed her so briefly, I didn't really touch down on that.
I was like, oh my God, that's not even her from last season.
I didn't see it. I didn't notice. I'll have to go back and look.
There's just so much trouble in paradise there. Like, they're looking at a spot for Ava and she's like, well, when's the beer tasting?
Oh yeah, she needed that drink right quick.
Tamara, if you look at just her pinhead and her mom's pinhead, it is exactly the same.
Real?
Like, minus the blonde hair, just those two pinheads. Well, I'm just saying. I don't mean that rude.
No, from one pinhead to their pinheads, I believe it.
I don't mean, as someone with a huge head, I can spot a pinhead.
Now, then we were treated to Kelly and Michael. And this gruesome dewsome.
I think they're in a lighter space, and I like the way they seem to be in their groove.
Do you think that I don't think they've had sex in years. That's what I've decided about them.
Interesting. You're probably right.
There's no sexual chemistry between them at all. I can't feel anything. I think he's the only one that will I think he loves her, and she knows that he's the only one that will tolerate her.
And it's funny, I just realized Kelly wasn't at Tamara's thing, because I guess it doesn't make sense, but all the same, let's get them all together, guys. And next week, it seems like we do.
Ooh,
get them all together in the craziest scene of all time, when Shannon seems to be throwing food at Kelly.
And she's like, read between the lines. Like that thing.
Shannon's just coming completely off the rails, just off the tracks.
And then Kelly just digs deep and goes low with that, like, eat some more food shit. Like, so base.
Oh, I didn't even hear that.
Oh, she goes, why don't you eat some more food or something like that? Like in the preview for next week. So base, so below the belt.
And the problem is that we've seen Shannon react so devastated to just a new person, Lydia, saying, that she reminds her of Vicky or something. Like, I can't even imagine the depths of darkness that Shannon goes to when someone says that to her. That's so nasty.
And I know you said that last week David was gone, baby gone.
Yeah.
Like that you saw the light pass from his eyes and he became a dead person. But just remind you of that.
Yep.
This week I started to watch like his skin fall off. Like the next step. Because there was a post, she's like, David, come talk to me. And he was outside, like, cleaning dog poop. Like, he would rather have he was, like, scouring the grounds for dog shit and seemed to be enjoying that more than talking to his wife.
How about the moment when she took some bread and he goes, don't eat that, honey. Don't eat that, honey. Now, look, I want to defend him in this moment just for a second. Mm-hmm. I know women, we don't want, and I don't want anyone ever, much less ever a man, telling us what we can and cannot eat. I felt in that moment, maybe I'm reading it wrong, his desperation was like, you don't want to do this for yourself. Like, don't do this to yourself, not nasty.
I'm seeing it from that angle now because she's so depressed.
It was just so tough to watch that he's like so keyed in with her waitress. He goes, oh, honey, don't eat bread. And she's like, it's just a little piece. It was a little piece. She takes it out of her mouth, shows him what she's eating, and then proceeds to eat the rest. I was like, this is devastating.
That was a devastating
But
scene.
Not as devastating as later. When I've never in my life, guys, when we're at the party, of course, we're reintroduced to that Lydia's mom, who I felt was cute and fun. and felt for her when Brianna's horrible husband Ryan was screaming at her at Vicky's winter white party.
Yes, that was
but
a moment
now
that will go down in history.
I'm like, you're a nut. She's gone Mama Joyce on us.
She is. And just her putting like glitter between Tamara's cleavage, like all of that stuff. I'm like, enough
Nobody
of you.
needs it. Nobody needs it. She's like, this is my shot. She's like my father after the show, you know, too excited to be there. So anyway, Lydia is getting in this huge fight with Tamara and Shannon. And then behind Tamara and Lydia, when they were talking, the camera just catches Shannon just stuffing nachos in her mouth.
Oh my God.
And I was shaken to my core. Again, that's me. Like, I'm not, I promise you as an audience, I'm not shaming her. Like, that's me. But I was just so like, this is getting real, like in a crazy way.
She's feeding something inside of herself it's dark right now just because she's so miserable.
You know, that's what fucking happens when people cheat on people. It's so...
You eat your feelings.
It's
you
horrible.
Really do.
Yeah, you take something from them, and that's the price I think that you pay when you try. Not everyone. I don't know enough about it, but like they are trying to work it out. But it's like, but there's wounds, like you're saying, that holes that cannot be filled.
I had never seen them happier. They were giddy last season, and then
maybe it's just like the reality is sunk in. Like the high from kind of we're gonna work it out, and we have worked it out has passed.
To just like now we're back in daily life, and
we're in this house, and there's a toilet in the middle of our relationship.
There's a toilet in the middle of our relationship,
and it's full of food.
Sorry, I'm laughing because that's so true. It's true.
Watching her eat that nacho in the background, I was like, uh-oh. We're in trouble. We are in trouble. I'm scared.
It's upsetting, and we can see just from next week, it's just going to keep getting worse, and it's going to keep getting darker. And I wish Shannon the best. Like I love Shannon. I feel for her.
I've always just really connected with Shannon.
Yeah, I feel for her. Like I'm on her emotional level. I get where she's at.
And I'm not making fun of her. I'm just like, where are we going from here?
Not up, I'll tell you that much. Now, Nobleman Magazine, just FYI, I just wanted to get back, just because you know, tells us what it's like to be a gentleman in the world today. And I don't know if anybody was aware of that, but that's kind of like the mission statement of Nobleman Magazine.
I'm sure
skip back up to
so many men are going to be all over that.
But like we, as noblemen, we need to know what it's like to be a gentleman in the world today, and that's going to be at every newsstand. And everyone's going to need that. How do they make money from their stupid fucking magazines? Do we know?
I don't know. I don't know what their kind of financials are. Now, Peggy and Deco.
Okay.
I don't know how this is all going to mix.
I'm not looking forward to Peggy
and I'm not
Deco.
hopeful. Now, Peggy's hair has appeared quite unkempt in many scenes.
As does everyone in her family, her quite large family. Like she's got a sister that's truly wearing a bumpet. And
a bumpet and a side
like
fishtail.
Side bumpet.
It was like many bumpets. It was a bumpet upon bumpets.
Like, where do the bumpets end and the person begin?
We'll never know.
There was so many different hair issues going on.
It was when we weren't dealing with height, we were dealing with width in just a kind of a windswept way.
Yeah, like everyone had been through a huge storm and had come out of the under end at their house.
Yeah. And Deco seems nice enough. I just am like, I'm truly interested in how this is all going to fatch.
Any man who's very interested in cars, I'm sort of turned off by. Like, I don't
now,
like...
my husband is a car guy.
I don't like cars, and I don't like guys that, like, fix up old cars or, like...
my husband's not fixing anything.
But, like, for some reason, like, when I see a bunch of classic cars, I get angry.
Yeah, okay. I get that.
And so... Like it stirs something in me. Like I always feel like, why aren't you home with your family and not out in your stupid jalopy?
I just think of Jay Leno like,
exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And so when I see a guy with a garage full of cars, like
that they own, she's like, we do not lease them. We own them all.
She had to say that.
But I actually appreciated the distinction because she was just basically being like, bitch, don't try to think we're the Gretchen Rossies of the world pretending to buy cars for each other. Mm-hmm. And there's Tamara tooling around in a white Range Rover. Mm-hmm. White Range Rover is so gross to me.
Well, it's ginormous.
I know.
And it's so expensive.
So expensive. That car, wow.
That is an expensive car. And I just don't know, is Cut Fitness paying for that car?
I think that car is a car that the Housewives built, like made.
Yeah.
Like that check went into that. And Tamara's clearly like, I'm just going to put my money in my car.
No, I hear
100%.
that. 100%. Mm-hmm. But...
I mean, anything else? That was Orange County. I felt like the second episode was not as strong as our first.
Yeah, but we're just getting started.
We're building.
I trust that Shannon's going to deliver the goods. I trust them this season. I know it's going to be something. We're building to something good. So I'm willing to like just take a few interesting things in an episode. I don't need it to be something that I'm blown away by. It's second episode in. Like, we got to save our strength. Now.
Speaking of saving our strength, should we move on to the Southern Charm reunion part 2?
Yes. This was the last of the reunions.
It should be. Was
there
it?
wasn't much.
I felt like the way it ended felt like there might be a third.
But then they showed an ad for a relationship.
Okay. That felt right then. Because I was like, are we really stretching this into 3?
No, there's no way. There's just not enough material.
I hate when as the reunion goes on, it's like people's makeup is just caked off and oily. Like, it just looks like... Yeah. I really feel the... energy just
unless you're the Real Housewives of Atlanta, and then you can have as many Housewives reunions as you want.
Yeah, you look amazing.
Now, we found out something disturbing on the road about Southern Charm, and this floored us. This shocked us, rocked us to our cores, and that is that Cameron's husband is a dentist. No.
I thought he was a doctor this whole time.
I have dentists in my family's uncles, cousins. Like, a dentist is a noble
Congratulations.
profession.
But I thought he was scrubbing in, definitely doing
saving
some surgeries.
Lives. Like, and when someone said he was a dentist, it turned my head
and that's
around.
not all they said, but we're not going to go there. But I will say that's what shocked me.
Of everything they said, of all the things that we found out on the road this week, the fact that he's a dentist, I'm still not quite over yet.
Now, I do really appreciate the affection that Cameron has for her husband. I feel I have that for my husband, but I sometimes am reluctant to share it because I don't want it to seem like I'm bragging or, I don't know, or taken the wrong way. But it does charm me, Southern charm me. The way Cameron is so like when she was saying, like, my husband has bad luggage and... She just loves him so much.
She does. That is a true love. She is.
It's very cute. I mean,
I'd love
to see him.
Which is why he's not on camera, because she does love him and she doesn't want the relationship to fall apart. And she's smart. Though I do want to see him, and I think it's unfair that I don't get to see them and the relationship. I understand why she's.
And I want to say right now, if we're not going to see this kid, I call for her to be off. I do.
Or you call for them to pretend they didn't have the kid.
And you know who's doing the up to the same racket is, and it's on again. And I pledge to everyone I will be back on this show for next week because I love Shaws of Sunset is back, and I'll single-handedly cover it. I'm fine too. But Asa is now pregnant with Michael.
Jermaine Jackson. I thought it was Jermaine Jackson's son. No,
it's not Jermaine's son.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not. I believe
it's a Jackson.
It's a Jackson. I thought it was Jermaine's son.
Okay, and we see hide nor hair of him, and that's why we're struggling coming up with a name, which I don't appreciate. And I'm sure we'll see hide nor hair of
Cameron's
the kid.
child.
And so it's just hard to follow your life as wholeheartedly as I'd like to when I don't know all the players.
Yeah, no, I agree. But again,
it's like being a therapist. I can only imagine, like, I'm just hearing what I'm seeing, and it's hard for me to know if you're telling the truth. Jermaine Jackson Jr. That's a mouthful.
Yeah, that sure is a lot of J's. Now, I thought it was a disgusting point when Landon was like, as a women, I'll let you do the imitation, but like, as women, we're all we have. Like, just anytime she tries to get on that, like, women together bandwagon.
That's a creative strategy that she has kind of adopted in the face of Shep calling her out hardcore for what I'm sure is correct, which is her kind of bratty behavior, because we haven't just seen it once. We've seen it in so many different instances. She's a complete entitled brat.
Yes, she is.
And he tries to call her out and she's like, yeah, I'm a woman and that's just being a woman. And it's like, don't try to fall back on, being a feminist and that's how women are treated. Like, we don't want you.
I do believe that Thomas was using her to kind of like torture Catherine a bit. I did kind of think that. But I will say the chemistry, the sexual chemistry between Thomas and Catherine.
Wow, I know.
Is electric. And I know they are bad for each other.
It very much is like a Rhett Butler kind of Vivian Lee kind
of.
But
a real low rent version.
Beyond low rent. And believe me. But there is just something, when he started threatening her, that was crazy.
Oh, yeah. But then but like 2 minutes later, it was like, yeah, when we kiss, it's just something.
Yeah.
Like to go from one to another in that span of time, they their chemistry is like, it's just fire. They're fire.
Where the hell was Whitney? And when they bring Whitney out, they don't make any mention of the fact that as though he's like, they're acting like now he's a side player who bounces in when he wants. But it's like, guys, Whitney created this show. Why isn't anyone addressing him?
And he doesn't say anything even when he's out there.
It's because he's embarrassed. He doesn't want to be associated with it anymore is the only thing I can surmise.
What else does he want to be associated with? Something higher brow? Like, what?
He lives in LA. I think he's like, I created this show. I got it going and now I'm too good for it. It's just weird.
Another Landon thing when she was like, my flirting, she was like, there's nothing wrong with me flirting with your boyfriends. That's you being insecure. I disagree. Like the way that she was all over Austin and Thomas, like
I agree with Catherine 100%.
Yeah.
She won't take responsibility for one thing, one piece of behavior.
I agree. I just was like, she's like, my flirting is you're insecure. If you can't handle me flirting with your boyfriends, it's like, no, that's just rude.
She's like, that's just my personality.
It's like, no, that isn't just a personality. It's not a personality trait to drape
to
yourself.
be an asshole.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't like
And then that big fight that kind of broke out between Craig and Shep. It's crazy to me. I thought Craig was right 100%. Like, it's crazy to me that Shep doesn't realize that it's true. He just doesn't seem to want to let Craig just be happy with his life.
He does not want to.
It's wild.
He spends more time like looking into Craig's life than he does Shep has never held a job. But
Yet spends all of his time being down on Craig.
yeah, or drinking. He divides his time between the two activities.
Yeah.
Now, the preview relationship looked so sad to me. I've never seen.
Of course, we'll be covering it.
Oh yeah, completely. But it just.
It lacks the oomph.
Yeah, he doesn't want to find love, so I don't really care. He doesn't want to.
I know, and even when he said, yeah, of course I look at families and they have kids, and I think he wants to always fit in, and maybe he thinks like, oh, it's a little weird I'm on the outside, but you're right. He doesn't want
he just wants to go like sticking his dick in things all over the place. And by things, I mean women.
And we met many of those women on tour.
Oh yeah. There's not a port in town that Shep hasn't.
Literally, we just yell, who slept with Shep? And a blonde-haired hand would go up every time.
Always pretty, always better than Shep. Always, just ashamed after the fact and a little bit proud. And it's tough.
I'd be all those things myself.
Oh, please. In my younger days, I would have been at Shep's little.
In my older days, I hope I'll be there.
Townhome in South Carolina.
Yeah.
And I would have been there.
Yeah. Guys, wow, what a week.
What a week. But
I have one thing to add.
Oh, what?
It's not
Yeah.
about housewives. Before I forget. I hosted a podcast. I guest hosted a podcast, and it is for Earwolf, which is an amazing podcast called The Longest Shortest Time, which is a parenting podcast. And it's really cool. Just, they have such amazing stories of all different configurations of families and everything about parenting. And I guest hosted and I interviewed my friend Jessie Klein, who was the head writer for Inside Amy Schumer and has an amazing book, You'll Grow Out of It. And I interviewed her about being a mom, and it's out this week.
yeah, I love that podcast. And the last one you did, I thought was so good when you were just a guest on The Longest Shortest Time. So I can't wait to listen to the one with you interviewing Jessie, because I love Jessie too. And she's so funny and smart, and she's a new mom, and it's always great to get insight.
And we just want to give a quick shout out to a fan who has written us, and she is the maid of honor to her sister Jody, and they're big Bitch Sesh fans. And she's planned for her sister a bachelorette that is Bravo themed.
Wow.
And so we just want to say,
Happy
What do we wanna
Bachelorette.
say?
We want to say have a great marriage. And just because Shannon and David are having troubled times doesn't mean that all marriages are that way.
doesn't mean that you have a toilet in your relationship corner.
I bet you have like a bidet or something lovely in your relationship corner. So congratulations. Good luck. You have very good friends who want to celebrate you.
Exactly. And thank you to everyone who's listened and is listening. And thank you to everyone that came out on tour. It was so great to kind of connect face to face with everyone.
It really was. We were so touched by all the faces and the comments and the boots and the gifts that I got Gardettos for days.
You got so many Gardettos. I got the cutest onesie that said, "Who gon' check me, boo?" which was amazing.
So we just, again, we just feel so grateful to all of you guys. It was
really quite joyful, actually.
And the community, it feels like it's a community, and it's nice to belong.
It is.
And thank you, April, who was dragging
an intrepid warrior.
2 old ladies around, guiding us through every airport.
We're like, April, where's baggage claim? We were Ramona and Sonia.
I was like, April, I had this ticket. It's on my phone. How do I get it into their hands?
I'm like, it's electronic.
So thank you, April, for dragging our old lady asses around and helping us.
This old lady gang around.
The sad old lady gang. And thank you, Earwolf and Luz and
July.
Thank you, Casey.
Thank you, Danielle. Bye.
Bye.
Humans, this is Matt Besser from Improv for Humans. It's an improvised podcast where we do a special thing every once in a while we call the narrative experiment, where we actually choose characters for our improvisers. They keep the character throughout the episode, and we basically do a sitcom. Check it out. It's called Mopes. It stars John Gabris, Jess McKinnon, Eugene Cordero, 3 of my favorite improvisers. Check it out, Humans. Mopes on Improv for Humans.
This has been an Earwolf production, executive produced by Scott Aukerman, Chris Bannon, and Colin Anderson. For more information and content, visit earwolf.com.